All right, guys, we just got the brand new ActiveImaging HD transducer in from Lowrance. It's supposed to be the cat's meow, but we're gonna take it out on the water and give you guys an in-depth view of what this thing looks like. All right, so we just got out in the boat. We're looking at this bad dude just to see what's up. Have got to make a couple adjustments for sure, just looking at it, sort of seeing what's up. Again, when you get new technology, obviously you're used to what you had in the last version or the, and so that's going to take some getting used to. But a quick understanding of what this transducer does. On your side imaging, your side scan, you basically have two options. You got 1075, 275 kilohertz or 455. The higher the kilohertz, the higher the resolution is the whole reason behind that. So I have it at 1075. The issue is you're not going to get as far a distance when you select a higher frequency. So you're not going to be able to see out as far as you would typically. Now on your down imaging, your DI down scan, you go into there and you have an ability to go to 1200 kilohertz chirp or 700 kilohertz chirp. So two options right there. And just sort of now like getting used to the unit. I have a little bit of interference right now, and it could be something interfering back here that's plugged in. I might have to just sort of make sure everything's good to go there, but it is pretty interesting. I'm seeing some images out to my right here on side scan. Definitely showing up a better resolution on my side imaging than years past, for sure. So I'm gonna mark, that would be where they theoretically should be. They're off the side right there. Yeah, there's some more. I missed them just a smidge. You can see them off the side a little bit there. You can obviously, good image of that single fish right there. That's good to see. All right. Now these are a little bit more like liney, not as like predominant. Like sometimes your smaller fish are gonna show up that way. I don't know if it's your bass or anything, but just sort of get an idea. Yep, there's definitely some right there. So that is a little group right there that's on that. So down imaging, solid. It's a solid, solid image right there. All right, right now we're utilizing 455 on my side imaging. There's a tree right there. You can sort of see your target separation is not that. I tell you what, it is definitely clearer than the regular 3-in-1. Okay, I'm starting to see a few fish off to my right hand side, just sort of scattered out. There could be crappie, maybe a few bass, and just sort of idling down through here looking. Let's see here. Now I do have my down scan on 1200, so that might be something too, is like you're gonna get more, that's probably what it is, Brody. So I have my down scan on 1200, and then if I have my side imaging on a higher frequency, then you might be getting too close, and that's what you're getting your interference at. That actually could make sense. You have two frequencies, then you have two that are too close together maybe, I don't know. So right here, there you can see a few bass to my right-hand side along that edge. The one that you're gonna get with that lower frequency is, and you can sort of see them, there's only a handful of them there, but I'll show you. You're gonna get a cleaner image of like actual white dots. So you're gonna see the white dots rather than actually the shadows. So let's just sort of play around with this a little bit. So I'm gonna go to 700 kilohertz instead, and then I'm gonna go to 1075 and change my frequency a little bit. So I was having a little bit of an issue with my my interference on my side imaging. So right now, just my first take on this, right now my first take on this is I'm not really sure. I'm looking at it, just not saying like, I just don't want to give the viewer a false gauge on my thoughts on this. Now, I can definitely see some things that I really, really like. I think that, you know, overall, obviously it's a more expensive transducer. It's a beefier transducer. The 455 chirp, I can definitely tell a difference, substantial difference in separation of targets. And so what I mean by that is, typically a bass will show up like a white dot on 455, or like a fish will in general. And so what I like about it is it does tend to have a better separation in 455, a crisper image than the traditional 3-in-1. I mean, which of course it should. You know, the one thing about this is you do have to have a pro. So there's HDS Lives that have been out for years. You do have to have a pro connected to your that transducer. Like the transducer has to be, the 3-in-1 high def transducer has to be connected to a pro in order for this to work. Or you either have to have, I guess, a box, from my understanding, which that, you know, that's, you know, just new software, new stuff, and sometimes that can be a sort of part of it. But I'm sort of just playing around, looking how it reads in soft bottom areas, hard bottom areas, and trying to sort of get that understanding of, like, okay, like, where's he at? I'm getting a little bit of feedback on my left side still, on some, which I don't like that. I can read through that no problem, but still, it's worse at 1200. So I try to play around with my kilohertz. I got a 455 chirp. I'm at 1200 there, so it's far away. I didn't know if they were maybe cross-talking to each other there, but it doesn't seem to be that way. So it's a work in progress for sure, just understanding everything there is, the nuance within technology. What you always think you know, and just like, then you change it up, and then you're like, you have to relearn something. I do think it's a crisper image, though. I do think it's very much a crisper image. Now, this palette looks good off the rip. I like to change my palette to sort of see if there's like one that shows them up better. Blue is one of my favorite side scan palettes, always has been. But one thing I notice is I can't put as much contrast on blue. 10 I can't. On number 11, on blue I can't, but on 10 I can put more contrast, which therefore allows more pop and then not blowing it out. So that's actually a really interesting thing too. Huh. What I'm more interested to see is that downscam image, like that, if how, see, it's still, that's what's weird to me, is I'm getting a good return in underneath my in like my no man's land in my side imaging return, but I'm not getting it necessarily, which a lot of it could be crappie, to be fair. Let's see what this down scan looks like on this bridge piling. So we just sort of barely clipped him, I think. Let's see if we can get a better image of the actual crappie that are underneath it. Yeah, so there's a pretty good image. I mean, when you're talking about right there off to my left-hand side, that's crappie. That's pretty good downscan image of crappie. Like when you're talking about 10 to 12 inch crappie, that's a pretty good clean image. Now, I wasn't going that fast. I was probably going a mile, probably 2.5 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour, but that's good to know. So that's 1200 kilohertz. This is 455. Let's just see what the 1075 looks like. Let me just adjust him, because you're gonna need to do that. And I'm also gonna go a little bit shallower, or like a little 1075. We got a little you can definitely see the separation in the center of your train, you know, versus back here. It's sort of globbed together, you know, back in the back right there. Where like here at 1075, you could definitely see the separation of the crappie a lot more underneath you. Now on your side imaging, your side scan view, but it didn't, I think we just barely missed them on our down imaging view. But that's interesting to see that separation a little bit more. Obviously my right hand side's soft bottom, my left hand side's hard bottom. There's some laydowns and there is a little bit of interference on my left side. So that is something that I got to figure out if there's a reason behind that. I'm going to play with that real quick. You know what I'm saying? That's 455 right there. Interesting. I mean, that 1075 though was interesting, where 455 is the best image I've seen on a Lowrance for a long time. I mean, by far. Quick, like you'd still get like an image, like
like voice is prominent still.
Yeah, like. See, that's them right there on the crown. That's them right there. Ding, ding, ding. I'm about to trash one right there just real quick. I can't help it. Baby boy. Hi, baby boy. I figured out our issue with our interference. So right now, we're gonna idle and see what it looks like. So this is the higher frequency of 1200, actually this is 1075 kilohertz, which is, you know, a couple hundred more than obviously what Lowrance provided before, and almost 300 more kilohertz. So I'm starting to see maybe a little bit of something to my right hand side of there. I can start to see them a little bit there. Yep, I can definitely start to see something there. You can start to see the shadows. Yeah, there's definitely a group of them there. You can see that, start to see the shadows a little bit out that way. It's 60 feet. Harder turn right in there. On the right hand side, it just fuzzy right there. You just sort of, and I can adjust my contrast. Sometimes you're blowing it out. Obviously, you could really see it here where there's some fish around here on this inside of 20, 30, 40 feet. Really get a good image of those fish there. Again, the higher your frequency, you're not going to be able to see as far out. So adjusting your contrast is important. Like those fish are scattered out right there, like there was some out in the front. I couldn't really say, but like what I'll do is I'll mark the fish out in front that I didn't really get that close to, and I'll mark those fish and go over them here in a second and see if, yeah, we'll see if those are bass. The DI transducer is 1200 kilohertz. I really want to see what that DI image looks like at the 1200 kilohertz chirp versus the 700, just to see like what is the difference. Is it, because like a lot of times, I mean, hypothetically speaking, I get what everybody says. Hey, look, yes, this is better, a better image like quality, but I've seen it to where lower frequencies are still better. See, there they are. Good demade. Gosh demade. So they're not letting me idle over them. You sort of see them on my right hand and my left hand side. They're not letting me idle over them. They're being little punks, which is fine. They're in 10 feet of water. I get it. But, you know, if you guys wanted to be a little bit nicer, you could allow me just to idle over y'all. Look at my lip. Do-do-do-do. That's 700 right there. Your down imaging looks great. I guess I probably hit them good. Interesting. I didn't really get a good image of the school, but you can see them on the left there. So that's 455. You can see further, but not necessarily that much further. got a 1200. I do think 1200 might be better image quality. You can see him on side over here though, just fine. See, that's what we just idled over. I mean, you can see him pretty good. I don't think there is, like, I can't see the side to side, you know, but it'll be interesting to see the side to side comparison right there, because that right there is like, you know, in the turn, but like, I think they look bigger on a larger, on 1075. They're more obvious. They're definitely easier to pick out on 1075. So you can look, it's like blown out a little bit. And I have my contrast turned down a decent amount, but you could see the difference of, like, you can actually see the fish, you can see the shadow. Let me zoom in. So here's, that right there is an image. Here, let me turn this way. So you can sort of see right there the definition. Now, obviously this is zoomed in, but this is what it looks like. This is 1075, and then this is on the opposite side. It's a little blown out right here. Actually, probably what I have to do, I do need to turn it down because of the image. You can see it there. It's just not as, the contrast is not as high. Like it, or it doesn't just show it up as well. So that's what it is too, to be fair. I had to change the contrast according to the image, you know what I'm saying? So like back here, if I zoom out, so that's why, like, I had to bump it up at like a higher contrast, or at a higher frequency to get a better image. There's definitely some things off my first look on this that I feel like way big improvement on Lowrance. So good job on that for sure. Like I definitely, on that higher frequency, I can definitely see those fish. Really good on shell beds and hard bottom places, which I didn't feel like that. I feel like that was a weakness of Lowrance before. This unit right now with that transducer definitely shows them up better. Again, you're not going to get the distance that you are on a lower frequency, but that was something that's just across the board. You're not going to get that. Right now, I don't know. You guys got to see it, so I'm gonna let you guys do your own thing. That is what it is. I wanted to put it out there, let you guys see what it was. I'm also just figuring this out on the fly as well. So you're seeing that, I'm seeing this for the first time, playing with it for the first time. I might get it way more dialed in and be like, oh my gosh, it's a 10 out of 10. I think it's a really, like, a great improvement. I think target separation, I have to idle more with this a little bit. You're down imaging and down scan. I got to see if I can, you know, see what it looks like, maybe idling like rock and grass and all those things. But overall, first gut feeling, I'm not going to give it anything. I'm not going to say anything because, again, I don't want to give you guys a review, like an in-depth review on saying, like, it is better. Is it, you know, 50% better? Time will tell. I can't say that right now. I will say that it's going to make it easier for an angler that is trying to learn and see fish out offshore. That transducer is going to allow you to see them better. It's going to allow for me to see them better as a seasoned advanced angler knowing the offshore game. So it is a major improvement, and overall, I'm going to leave it right there. There's going to be a lot more on this later on the season, I think. I can sort of give you guys a full rundown when I see it in multiple different situations, whether it's, you know, Great Lakes, smallmouth, largemouth, grass, all that good stuff, clear water, dirty water. I'm going to have a better understanding of where this transducer is. But first glance on it, I am definitely impressed, and I think Lowrance did a pretty dang good job. So we'll find out more later on. We appreciate you all following the channel. Hopefully you'll learn a little something from this video, or maybe something that you decided to buy this transducer or not buy this transducer. Regardless, you learned something maybe, and we surely appreciate y'all following along. See y'all.